Hi again folks, it's James again. I'm going to be uploading this video I think quite soon after my previous one, just trying to catch up, got some time to myself, doesn't often happen. So I'm going to whiz through a couple of more finds and then I'm going to show some record giftage that I've had from three very kind people. So this was my find of the week. Been after a copy of this for absolutely ages. This is the Santana debut. Picked this up from my local antiques place. I went down there for the first time in about 3 months. They had tons of good stuff. This copy was £10 and it's in beautiful shape. Obviously it's an early pressing, it's not a repress or anything. So absolutely delighted to get that into the collection at last. I think I am now on the Santana slippery slope. I tried to stay off it for years, but I think I'm on it now. I picked up another couple of Santana records at the same time, but I've not listened to those yet, so I'll be showing those in due course. Okay, this next one was a charity shop find. This is the Louvin Brothers from Alabama. This is Songs That Tell a Story. So these two were a pair of gospel country singers from Alabama. The only record that I'd heard by them was the big famous one. I've got a Light in the Attic reissue of it. Satan is Real. This one, it's really, really good. It comes from a set of radio broadcasts which they made. Charlie and Ida Louvin did a set of radio broadcasts. I'm just having a look here on the WMPS programme. This would have been, God, I've no idea the date of this. Hell of a long time ago. Back in the 1950s, maybe 1952, early 50s. And it's all just very, very sort of quiet and keening, atmospheric country gospel stuff, Kneel at the Cross, Jesus is Whispering Now. It's really nice because they actually address the audience, in the broadcast, so you get this sense of a live broadcast or something which is being broadcast to the nation. Really, really good. Really enjoyable and nice to hear something by them which isn't the big obvious one, which is the Satan is Real one. Okay, back to the antique centre now, and my first POCO pickup. This is From the Inside. Now let me just get my notes here, make sure I don't lead you up the garden path. So POCO are a country rock band, not sure if they're still around, and they do country rock. I mean, it's very laid back kind of sound. This album, apparently they went not too happy with it. I'm not sure if it was the production or the songs, but the band themselves didn't like it. And shortly after its release, they kind of tried to dissociate themselves from it. I think from what I read, it was more subdued and perhaps they found the production a bit muddy. It did see them replace a key member though. Jim Messina was replaced by Paul Cotton. But it's still got Richie Fury on it, who is one of the main songwriters. Paul Cotton and Richie Fury write the songs. So there are a couple of POCO albums there in the Antiques place, but it was that thing where I never really listened to them, never heard them, so I thought I would buy that one, and if I enjoyed it I'd go back and get some more. So I did enjoy it, so we'll see if I end up picking some more records up from them. They're a band that I hear a lot of people talk about. Hedley talks about them. I've heard various people on the vinyl community talking about them. Maybe Tommy Burton as well. So I might end up digging deeper into their catalogue. Right, so just want to whiz through some records that people have sent me over the past few months. I'm quite behind with these. So Ian at Tractor Countdown, so Ian does music on his channel. His band or his creative name is Tractor Countdown, and he does very quirky English songs. Think Syd Barrett, think Kevin Ayres, really good. Ian wanted to send me a copy of this record by Red Guitars because one of his friends played in the band. I can't remember now which one it was, Ian, sorry, but he had a copy of this kicking around, I think, in his shed, and he gave it a dust down and sent it to me. I'd never heard them before. I was aware of them, I've seen this record around, I've just never picked it up. They were from East Yorkshire, Red Guitars. They were active from 82 to 86, and they described themselves as a mixture of punk, blues, electric folk and African music, and you can definitely hear that in the music. Sounds to me a bit like Talking Heads. They've got that kind of world music-y, 80s indie world music-y kind of sound to them. A slight tinge of high life on the electric guitars, quite intricately arranged backing vocals, definitely a bit of an African vibe, but broadly speaking you would characterise it as indie rock, 80s indie rock. Really nice album. This came from 1984 and it got to number 3 in the UK indie charts. Apparently, I don't think they had much commercial success outside of that. But yeah, nice listen. Thanks Ian, much appreciated. And this one came from Graeme Watson at Crackin Vinyl, and this comes from a very similar era really. This is the Kane Gang, again from the 80s. And this bunch were from North East England again, strangely enough, from County Durham. And this record was released on the same record label as the Prefab Sprout albums on Kitchenware. I really was not aware of these guys at all, but I really like this album. I think Graeme probably intuited correctly that it was up my street. It's just got that classic 80s indie sound with a bit of electronic stuff going on. You know, those classic melodic 80s bands like Fiction Factory, Lotus Eaters. They've got that very melodic, winsome, melancholy, windswept kind of sound to them. Really interesting record. There's a cover on here of the Staple Singers' Respect Yourself, which is quite good fun. And I think the big hit single on it was Closest Thing to Heaven. So yeah, really nice album. Not sure how much success they had after this. I didn't make a note of it, I'm afraid. I don't think they did much else after this. So just another one of those bands that got away, you know, fell through the cracks of pop history. So thank you to Ian and Graeme. Cracking stuff. Right, so have I left myself enough time for these last few? I'll see how I get on. I met up with Hedley, another fat bearded man talking about records. This is just before the lockdown. He came to Lancaster, we had a little dig, he bought some things, I bought some things. Then we went to a coffee shop and he proceeded to give me a great big bag of records. And it took me ages to clean them, get them on the turntable, start listening to them, and I don't feel still that I can do justice to them properly, but I wanted to show them. I'll show a couple of them now, and I might have to save another couple for a future video. Okay, the first one I'll show you, just to backtrack, I picked up a record from my local charity place a while ago by a guy called Wayne Berry, and I'd never heard of him, but the record looked interesting. It had the Muscle Shoals section on it, and it had a couple of people that interested me. Roger Hawkin on drums, you know, that kind of thing. So I contacted Hedley and asked him if he'd heard of Wayne Berry, and of course he had. And he told me that he'd been in a band called Timber, who I knew nothing about. So when I met up with Hedley, he gave me a copy of one of the Timber albums. This is Bring America Home, and Wayne Berry is in the lineup. I'm not entirely sure which one he is on the back. Let's have a look on the front of the solo album. Okay, so it looks to me like I still don't know which one he is. I don't know. I looked him up, and in fact I sent a link to Hedley as well. Amazing career. Had no success whatsoever, but just to read about his career, I think he came from down south, but he moved to LA, and he made so many attempts to make it in the music business, and he just couldn't do it. Couldn't get a break. You know, he tried it in Timber. He tried it on his own, he tried it in a variety of different bands, but there was always some reason why he never ended up making it. And in the end, he ended up going into the church, and he now makes Christian music. So it all kind of turned out okay for him. It's just that he never actually, achieved the mainstream stardom that he was after. This is on Elektra. It's, it's mellow country rock. It sounds a bit like the Wayne Berry solo album I've got. Really enjoyable. Timber. Okay, so we'll do 2 more for now. Hedley gave me loads more records, but I'm going to go over time if I spend too long in this video. Casey Kelly, I knew nothing about this guy at all. This is country rock. This might be my favourite record of the bunch, actually, of the ones that Hedley gave me. I think, again, he's one of these guys who never really found any success on his own particularly, but he ended up writing for other people. I can't remember the artists now that he wrote for. I'll put it on the screen. You know, nice record. It's got fiddle on it, it's got pedal steel, a bit of accordion. Nice vibe. Really good actually. There's a song on here called Silver Meteor, which is basically about his guitar, and it's just a great kind of shit-kicking country rock tune. Fantastic. And the final one I'll show today is by John Hartford, and I knew nothing about this guy either. That's him there. I think he's passed on now, I think he's passed away. Really interesting guy as well. He's basically a one-man band. In fact, this is the first record that I've ever owned by a one-man band, and it's just fantastic stuff, really. He was, well, he spent his childhood in St. Louis. I think he came from New York originally. And he was influenced by Earl Scruggs and the kind of Nashville sound. Bizarrely, he moved to the West Coast, and he ended up being offered the lead role in a TV detective series, bizarrely. And he turned it down, went back to Nashville in order to pursue his career in music. And he was deeply, deeply immersed in the musical traditions of the Mississippi area, and he was really into the Mississippi River, and he actually ended up working on the river as a kind of tour guide, or he worked the boats basically on the Mississippi, and pretty eye-opening stuff. It's very, very stripped back. Obviously, it's a one-man band, so he's fiddling, he's playing the guitar, he's banging a drum of some kind. There's a Beatles cover on this record. Oh no, the Beatles cover is not on this record. I think Hedley sent me a link to a cover of a Beatles song that he'd done. Can't remember which one it was now, but it was really good. Anyway, so what label is this one on? Because, these are really interesting records. These are not the kind of things that you find every day. Sonnet. And the album is called Mark Twain, I should have said, by John Hartford. So yeah, Hedley gave me at least another 5 records, but like I said, I don't want this to be too long, and I probably haven't given them enough spins yet to talk about them properly. Not that I spoke about those properly particularly, but you know what I mean. So that'll do. I'll be back soon. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.